the Instagram. Let's see. Perfect. Great. We are live there. We are live here. Great. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pacifiers and PJs. Tonight, we're talking about maximizing your health insurance benefits. There are a ton, and I mean a ton, of services and products that you probably don't know your insurance can actually cover in a lot of the cases when you are going through pregnancy, for your birth, or for postpartum. So there's a lot of really, really cool stuff. So I'm here with the one and only financial doula,
Yep.
Setu Shaw. Hi.
Hey, Lindsay, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat about this topic as well. So, yeah,
I'm so
thank
excited.
you.
I feel like that's one of the main stressors for new parents to be is bills, insurance, what's going to get covered, all of that. It's a lot to uncover, and I love that you make things so much easier for parents to digest and hold their hand and lead the
Yeah.
way. I super love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really like my mantra is like, how can we make all of the financial and the administrative components of having a baby easier? And how can I really hold your hand through the process? And yeah, I mean, health insurance and medical bills, I mean, the one stat that I always throw out there is your hospital delivery bill will be your largest one-time expense, usually for families. And it's really only increasing because healthcare expenses are going up.
Yeah.
So that's why I love doing sessions like these and blogging about this topic because there are tons of ways that you can reduce that cost. Maybe not specifically the hospital bill, which there are some ways there, but there are other things that you can get covered, like you mentioned. And then there's even other ways that you can be quite strategic about your health insurance to save money. So I'm excited to talk about all of this. I hope people have their pen and paper, notepad ready. So
Yep.
here we go.
Bring up to folks, if you are watching anywhere, if you click into the video link, I actually have links over to Cynthia's website if you want to subscribe, because she is offering a really awesome freebie tonight that you are going to want to get your hands on, that I do believe personally, I saw it myself. I do believe every parent needs this. It's 10 questions you need to ask yourself before you have your baby. And it's really interesting, the conversations it starts with you and your partner, and the planning that it kickstarts, but not in a scary way that you want to just bury your head in the sand. You've done a great job of making everything approachable, because I'm one of those people that I'm finances. Oh, so
Yeah.
I know it's a stressful time. So you've done a great job. So if you guys click in, subscribe. Also, feel free to throw your questions at us, because we are going to be answering your questions tonight. So anything that you have, but yeah, definitely click in. That way you can subscribe and get that freebie as well. So let's start out with a little bit about your story.
Yeah.
What is a financial doula? How did you become her?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'll say financial doula is something made up. I think if you Google it, you'll probably look to find my website, really. Yeah, I made it up because I was trying to figure out what I could name a company that helps expecting parents financially, administratively prepare for their first baby. And it just felt like these two words together kind of explained beautifully what that was.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how the name came about. But my background. So, I have kind of like a hodgepodge of things I can talk about. But, my professional background is, I've been a consultant in the consulting industry. I have a MBA from Emory. I've just been around and exposed to a lot of numbers and spreadsheets my entire life. My dad's an accountant, and an immigrant father at that. And so
Oh, yeah.
counting every dollar and every penny. And so I just that's just what I knew. And,
Yeah.
that's just part of the story, I think. And so from kind of like a childhood and a professional perspective, finances and spreadsheets have always kind of been my thing. And then from a more of a personal, more recent personal story, I had my son a couple years ago, and through that journey, I was impacted by the motherhood penalty. And I saw very quickly like what people talk about when they say motherhood penalty. And so, what I mean by that is my first experience was I was working at a company that didn't really have a good maternity leave policy. So, I had to negotiate that. I had to do my research. I had to look at benchmarks. I had to look at other companies. And I had to go up there and tell them, like, I need 12 weeks of paid leave.
Yeah.
Um, and, that experience kind of exposed me to just how difficult that process can be. I later, through my delivery, had some complications and things. Everybody's healthy and happy now, but that exposed me to more of being a true consumer of our healthcare system and
Yeah.
the administrative and financial components that come with that.
Yeah.
And then, a few months after that, I ended up being a part of layoffs of my company. And
Oh,
so then you kind of lose I lost that income.
yeah.
And so I just had this series of events, around the time of my son's birth that I said, man, like this feels like I just have to be reactive every time. And could there have been a way to be a little proactive about some of
Right.
this? I don't know, maybe not, but
Yeah.
I
Oh,
do think,
you
oh
can't
yeah,
see the comments, I don't think, on your side, but
yeah.
Smitha's here. Hi, we love you.
Hey,
She's awesome. If you guys want to comment in, connect with Sethu or anything like that, please, please, please hit the subscribe button or click into the link that you're watching this from. That way we can get you that freebie that Sethu has and go from there. So Maternal Sunshine, welcome in. Thank you for commenting. I cannot believe that we don't have federal paid leave. It's so sad. Appreciate all your tips and resources.
thank you, Maddie. I know Maddie. Thanks,
I,
Maddie.
I I agree. I agree. I mean, shoot, I had my baby on a Thursday, and Saturday my husband went back to work.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that, and he was, obviously he's the dad. He's not the one that gave birth, but like you hear these stories of moms giving birth and then having to go right back. But yeah, it's
yeah.
just wild. So we're gonna get into that as well because you've got some really great insight and tips to maximize leave as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that could be, another live that I think would be a great session. But yeah,
Yeah,
but
let's
I
do it.
shared yeah, I'd love that. But yeah, I shared a little bit about kind of my story, my personal standpoint. But basically, I was in the throes of postpartum. I kind of had the company situation, and I'm an like ideator, and I'm creative in that way. And I just kind of sat around and was like, there's got to be a better way to help people
Yeah.
be more proactive about their finances when they have a baby, and at
Yeah.
least try to create some mock scenarios or just like have a better sense of like what is that first year going to look like. And so that is how financial doula was born. I'm still early in my journey. I started it earlier this year, but it's been so rewarding so far for the few people that I have helped, the partnerships that I've built, the community that I'm building, on Instagram as well. Meeting you has been just incredible. So thank you all that you do, Lindsay. You're just amazing.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
but yeah, so that's a little bit about my background. So
And for those of you that are watching, you are located in Atlanta, but you also do virtual as well.
yeah,
So that's the cool thing. So essentially, to like, see, I'm not a numbers gal. You are. To put it like to like dumb it down to Lindsay speak
yeah,
is you are helping folks with planning for baby costs if you're going from two incomes to a one income household, what financial planning you should have, like talking about like in terms of like college or savings, like going through all of those different things,
yeah,
um daycare costs, all of that, in addition to like dealing with the insurance. So
yeah, yeah.
what is your first tip for me, like either product or service that you can maximize your benefits with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a long list here. So hopefully we're not here all night. I'll
Good.
try.
No, I'm glad there's a long list of things that they cover. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, so a cover is like one part of like the longer list of ways to maximize your insurance. I'll start a little bit backwards a few steps, like a little bit higher level, I guess. So I think first and foremost, picking the right health plan. And that sometimes seems kind of straightforward because maybe you're only given a couple options with your employer. Like maybe you have a PPO plan, an HMO plan, and maybe you have a high deductible health plan, like whatever options you may have. Sometimes people kind of just go with the status quo. But what I always recommend, particularly if you are looking at looking at costs and wanting to save as much money in that year of having your baby,
Yeah.
go with a plan that has the lowest deductible. And so that typically would be like a health maintenance organization, which is an HMO, or a PPO. I like the PPO plan because it's a lower deductible, not as low as HMO, but it gives you more exposure to like the doctors that you want to choose. And so
I was
you just
gonna say most of the
yeah,
office PPO over HMO. A little bit of background. I don't know if you know this.
yeah,
I was a physician for 10 years. So
yeah,
that
yeah,
was my background before doing this. So like dealing with insurance and like all that stuff was like my world. And I'm really good at bridging the gap and like dumbing
yeah,
things down because like
yeah,
you're a numbers brain. Most of us are not. And
yeah.
it's like it was really funny because it was like anytime I had to like navigate something with insurance, I'd call him, I'd be like, talk to me like I'm stupid.
No, but I mean, even if you like, I mean, I've been in the industry for like what 15 plus years. It's confusing as hell, dude. Like, I mean, it is. I mean, just the jargon, like co-insurance versus deductible versus copay. I mean, and you really like when you look at the bill at the end of the day, you're like, how did we get to this number? Like it's confusing no matter how long you've been in it. And so I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're saying. Like, how can we dumb this down and really
Yeah.
just make it
Make
as easy as
it
possible to
yeah.
consume? Yeah. And even these plans I'm talking about, I mean, it can be quite confusing.
Mhm.
And so that's why often I feel like people kind of just pick whatever they
Yeah.
feel like it feels good in the moment.
Is that
But
something that actually right now we're in like an open enrollment period?
yeah,
So is that something somebody can come to you and say, hey, we are pregnant or planning to get pregnant? Could you go over health insurance plans with people?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
All right.
so I can talk through, I mean, I can help them look up what are the different deductibles and their out of pocket maximum.
Got
I
it.
can explain to them which plan is going to be best for them, given that they're delivering in that fiscal year.
Yep.
So I can talk through all the benefits of, each plan.
Cool.
Um, the
So
one,
PPO is taken by more doctors. So you're getting more options with PPO, and
exactly.
lower deductible plan is a wiser choice.
Yes, and again, it's going to depend on your income level. If finances aren't as much of a concern, and like you got healthy savings, maybe over $50,000 in savings for your first year of your baby's life. Some people may opt to do a high deductible health plan, and the reason being is because you get a health savings account with that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure how much you know about the health. I'm not going to go into too much detail because
Yeah.
that's probably a whole Instagram live on its own too.
I know, right?
But it's basically like a mix of a savings account and an investment account. And so a lot of people like it because you can put money into that account
Mhm.
and then invest it into the market. And over time, it'll grow.
Got it.
And in theory, it's meant to be for healthcare expenses. And until you're the age of 65 or retirement, you're going to get taxed if you don't spend it on
Mhm.
that. But a lot of people treat it as another retirement account, essentially. So
Got
there's
it.
there's a lot of detail there. Again, happy to talk through HSA and high deductible health plan and kind of all the nuances there. But in general, if you're having a baby, a PPO plan is what most people recommend and what they'll go for. And so, yeah, that's going to give you a lower deductible and that's going to give you more options in the physicians that you want to choose. The third thing about the PPO plan, which is also true of the HMO plan, but you get a flexible savings account.
Those
So
are
that yes, and that is those are similar to HSA, but it's only for that 1 year. So you only get a savings account for that 1 year. It's a lower amount. I think it's around 3,000 this year. I got to look up the exact amount, but basically,
it's like 3,500.
yeah, I think it's like 3,500.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, so for those of you that are watching that don't know what an FSA is, it's money taken out of your paycheck before taxes,
yeah.
right? So it's there's no taxes taken out of it. Goes on to basically a debit card that you can use for medical expenses. So it's you end up saving a good chunk of money out of it, which is cool.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's why I love it because there's actually a ton of baby products that are
Yeah.
that you can use your FSA money on. Now,
Yeah.
usually it has to be sort of what I call like medically related or products that you won't use as frequently. So some examples are like baby Tylenol or maybe like eczema cream, baby eczema cream. I think you can get like ear drops and things like there's certain things you can get
We
for
got
the
the owlet with ours. So we got
yes,
the owlet
yeah,
sock and camera combo, which that was 3 years ago. It was $400 for
yeah.
the camera. We used our Flex account for it.
Amazing. It's just like that's all tax-free money, which is incredible. So yeah, I think and no matter which baby registry site you use, so if you use like Babylist or Amazon or Target, each one of these websites are going to have a blog somewhere that says this is what you can buy with your FSA money.
Yeah.
So I always encourage folks to look up on their baby registry website that list of like what's FSA covered. And you'll like you can literally just drag it into your registry.
Yeah.
It'll be covered by FSA. So
Rockstar Dad
yeah.
Academy. That's my husband, by the way.
What did he say?
I think you can get a tooth water pick with it too.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I think you're right. Like you can buy all sorts of like random stuff. Actually, you know what's a really cool thing we bought with ours was it's basically it looks like a little bumblebee that comes with an ice pack and it vibrates. So when they're getting a shot,
yeah.
it takes away the pain.
Oh my God. Ingenious.
I was like, that is a great FSA purchase.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's exactly the type of stuff that you need when you have a baby. I mean, it's like, it's
The
like
random things you buy when you have a baby is insane.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that was like one of the cool surprises. I was like, oh, owlet. Yeah, there were some cool FSA surprises.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. But yeah, you can, I mean, just Google it, like baby products covered by FSA, and you'll just see a full list of things. So yeah, great option to have with your PPO and HMO plan. If you don't see it in your like benefits documents or wherever,
Yep.
I encourage you to call your insurance provider, ask about it, and try to get that FSA plan so you can have some tax-free saving. So
Yeah, that was something my husband came home one day during open enrollment. And because we found out we were pregnant around Thanksgiving time. Yeah, it's around Thanksgiving time. It's like this time of year. And he came home and he goes, I signed up for a medical spending card. And I was like, you know what? That might be the smartest thing you've ever not asked my input for, but just done on your own.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
awesome. It was amazing to have because like you do have those co-pays and a lot of the OB's offices have like payment plans, etc. So it was a cool thing that he signed up for and totally recommend it.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That was actually number 4 on the list, but we can talk a little bit about it now. But some OB providers ask you to pay your health delivery bill early, Uh,
Yes.
and I've worked with a couple of people that have had this issue, and it's kind of unexpected, like sometimes it's in the fine print of the HIPAA documents you sign, and you're just like, where, why am I paying $5,000 right now when I don't deliver for another 6 months? But it's
Right.
becoming more and more common. And so I think having some of that tax-free money to spend, just having some safeguards there in place in case that is your scenario, it's really important.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I'll talk a little bit more about that later too, because there are some ways you can work around that piece of it. But while we're talking about products that are covered, I did want to go to like broadly what's covered by your health insurance. So your delivery, should be covered by some portion. Your OB appointments, right? Like all of those things should be covered. Like that is the purpose of health insurance. But there's actually like a lot more that you may not realize you can actually get with your health insurance. One is breast pumps. So I actually got my breast pump through my health insurance. I ended up getting the Spectra 2, I think. And so I think I still paid like, I don't know, $50 out of pocket because I
So
didn't want
you
to
got
plug
the
it in.
S1 because it didn't have to plug into the wall.
Yeah, S1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the breast pumps, the dual electric breast pumps are totally covered with insurance, which if anybody watching has questions on the app, this is literally what I do. I'm a CBC. I actually do this with families. Log in with their insurance because there's a website you can use. Some insurances you have to go through the insurance website. The majority of insurances you go to aeroflow.com you plug in your insurance info, and it literally spits out your options and what your copays are.
Amazing.
And it's super easy. I know that's where like kind of figuring out which breast pump you want gets a little hairy. So reach out if you have any questions. That's what I do. But yeah, so most of the dual electric breast pumps are covered in full, and a lot of them cover 300 milk storage bags
Yes.
in full, which is awesome. But if you want one of the dual electrics that is rechargeable, like you can unplug it from the wall, like the S1 you got, which I think that's my favorite pump right now.
It is. Yeah.
I had the Motif Luna, which you are able to unplug, which was fantastic. I loved the Luna, but now that like I've been playing with the S1 with clients, I'm like leaning towards I like that one better.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of an upcharge. It can be as little as like $20 up to like maybe, I think the highest I've seen was like $55 or $60 for the upcharge. But yeah, it's phenomenal because you're getting a $300 plus machine.
Yep.
At no cost.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's so funny because a lot of people really don't find out about this like till late in the game. And it's like on their registry, or they end up buying it out of pocket and they're like, oh, wait, like I didn't realize. And sometimes your OB will tell you, but sometimes they forget, you know? And so it's definitely one of those.
If you go onto Aeroflow, they will actually reach out to your OB for you, because if you are looking for a breast pump, a belly band is something else that is covered. They just need a prescription from your doctor. So that's something that you can go to your OB and say, hey, I need a prescription for breast pump, belly band, etc. Or if you order it through Airflow, they reach out to the doctor for you and they ship it out. So the only thing you have to go through is literally plugging in your insurance and picking up your pump, and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So I think it's definitely something to keep in mind or remember. And, you know, you could order it right away. You could order it later. But yeah, you know, I think I ordered mine maybe towards the end of my second trimester or something. But
I was in that like nesting phase, and I was like, I just want all the stuff so I can organize. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, before third trimester. So yeah, breast pumps, huge. Lactation consultants. So you know, it's interesting. Like, you really don't know what your experience is going to be like once you have your baby when it comes to breastfeeding, and it can be tough. I mean, sometimes it comes naturally to folks, but sometimes it is an adjustment for you, for baby. It takes trial and error, and that lactation consultant can make a huge difference in terms of, you know, do you need to change the positioning, or is this positioning better, or do you need to lift the baby's head a little bit, right? Just little things like that that you had no idea. And so lactation consultants,
the whole latch entirely.
yeah,
with minor adjustments. So specifically with the lactation consultants, most insurances cover a pre-birth lactation consultant visit, which I'm going to tell you, I recommend you do that and not just rely on the lactation consultant in the hospital. They're busy, they're understaffed, they're not going to be able to talk to you at like 6 a.m. when you're crying, struggling to get baby to latch.
yeah,
Set up before you give birth that, because it's covered with your insurance, get that lactation consultant visit. So you already have that rapport, found somebody you like. That way, if you know you had a rough night with baby, you can just call them and you're not having to get through niceties or getting to know you.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I think, you know, having exposure to a lactation consultant, doula, whoever's going to help you postpartum, like meeting them before you deliver can make a huge difference in your rapport and your comfort level with them. So yeah, I think that's fantastic. And, you know, lactation consultant is something that could be covered. With all the things that I'm saying, I'll just kind of caveat and say, always check with your insurance company first.
Yes.
So, you know, and I might repeat that throughout this, but yeah, you know, for me, I don't think that was an option with my insurance, but I do think that there's more coverage out there. Yeah. That can do it. I think my plan was just a little bit more limited. So yeah, I think it
The
just,
vast majority do cover it though.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, definitely just make sure though, before you, assume, you know, and there's also going to be processes with your insurance company in terms of submitting the claim and getting reimbursement as well. So you just want to make sure you follow those steps. A few other things, which I think you hit on already, Lindsay, compression stockings, maternity support belts, postpartum recovery services. So there's a lot that you could actually, or sorry, postpartum recovery garments rather.
Got it. Okay. I was like, oh, what
Yeah.
services? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, some of the services I wish were covered more. I mean, like a postpartum doula, which there is becoming more of movement around doulas being covered by state Medicaids. Um, so there is some movement there, which I think is fantastic, because there's a lot of evidence out there that doulas make a huge difference in terms of not only like the health experience and your health recovery, but actually overall total cost to the healthcare system. And so I think that's why health insurance companies, or at least like state Medicaids, are starting to pay for it more.
Yeah, because ahead of time, it's actually, they have better outcomes. If a doula is involved, there are better outcomes statistically. Wouldn't they? Because exactly to your point, it's going to save them on the back end if you're not having like a complication or, a wild scenario that requires more medical care.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is kind of just an aside, but every client I work with, like every couple that I work with, I always recommend budgeting for services like that, like a doula, perhaps an out-of-pocket lactation consultant if it's not covered, things like physical therapy. I mean, there's a whole host of postpartum health recovery services that may or may not be covered by health insurance, that I just always recommend to kind of budget for and have some savings, because it'll make a huge difference in your experience and recovery journey. So
yeah, I like that.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna keep going. Are we good?
Yeah, you're good. Thank you for joining us, Maternal Sunshine. I appreciate you. This actually, if just so you know, I know you're hopping off on my YouTube, Sue Beginnings YouTube, this whole video will live there. So if you're someone that has to hop off, definitely you can catch the rest of it on the YouTube channel. So no stress, no worries. If you have questions, feel free to just reach out. All right. So what are we on to the next?
Yeah. Okay. So a few more. We're getting there. So some of the rest of these. What was that?
We're getting there. It's good.
We're getting there.
There's a whole list of things that they cover. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. No, I know. And it's, like the list is long, but like it's a good list, right? I mean, these are things that you want to be doing and want to know about. So that way, like, you're not kind of kicking yourself after you have baby, like, oh man, I wish I had these like things squared away before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of these other ones, it's not necessarily like tips to save money, but it's some things that like perhaps you should think about or you should avoid, so that way you are maximizing your health insurance. So one is, this may seem simple, but like really making sure all of your doctors are in network with your plan, and even the hospital that you deliver at is in network with your plan. So I've had a couple scenarios where folks, they picked a physician that they really liked, but that physician was not associated, or like it was not affiliated with the hospital, and the hospital that they wanted to deliver at, just like it was not covered, basically. Like they wouldn't be able to. So it was like, yeah. So it was like she just like basically, I mean, especially if you live in like an inner city area, that could happen, just because there's so many doctors and hospitals in the same area. So
which my recommendation to those of you watching, the best way to do this, easiest, least stressful way to do this, is actually go onto your insurance's website and search for the doctor, the hospital. Like those are that's the easiest way to do it, because if you go to the doctor's office or they're going to say, yeah, we're in network with most of Blue Cross, but there's so many different like underneath plans that some of them aren't going to be in network. So we don't want surprises. Go right to your insurance, right from your their website, or call them. Either way, that's going to make your life a lot simpler.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm glad you said that, because that part of my work is also like helping clients navigate their own insurance website, because it could be incredibly confusing, from like understanding how to search for certain providers, or understanding what's actually covered under your plan, understanding your co-insurance and out-of-pocket maximum. Like it can be kind of a confusing thing, but I do think that insurance are doing a better job of making it more user-friendly. And so I think helping folks kind of navigate that is part of the journey,
Awesome.
So yeah, make sure folks are in network. The next one, I talked about this earlier, but if you pay for your hospital delivery early, so 5 months before you deliver, 6 months before you deliver, there is a chance that you overpay. because at the time that you're paying, they only have an estimate. They don't really know exactly how much your hospital delivery is going to cost.
Okay.
And so if there's a chance that you overpay, you could be owed a refund after you deliver, after the actual bill hits.
Okay.
And I've so many scenarios where that money just got left to the provider. It was never returned. Yeah, it was never, yeah, like the provider was like, okay, well, they paid. Yeah, but the bill was lower, but they just like the patient just didn't even know to like go back and chase for that refund.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're paying the hospital bill or the OB bill?
It's the hospital bill.
The hospital bill. Okay, so if your hospital is saying pay this ahead of time or is offering you to pay ahead of time, after birth, at what point should you contact the hospital to double check that?
As soon as you get, the bill for your hospital, I mean, you should. That's how you're going to know, right? Because you're going to know
Okay.
how much you paid for the delivery ahead of time, and then once you get that bill in the mail or electronically, however you receive it, you'll be able to see, okay, well, this is actually how much my out of pocket was for my hospital delivery, and you
Okay.
can compare. But yeah, I mean, I've seen upwards of over $1,000 refunded back to people. Yeah, which
That's a very nice first birthday party.
yeah, yeah, no, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, maybe it's fine, but like that's a lot of money,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's
a lot of diapers.
yeah, it's a year of diapers, exactly. So yeah, that's one thing I always like recommend is once you deliver and you start getting your medical bills, check them, and just like go back and see like did you overpay for anything and ask for that refund.
Okay.
Um, the last couple, add your baby to your health insurance plan within 30 to 60 days. It's going to depend on your plan, like the exact number of days. But when you deliver, your baby will also get a bill for the delivery. And so, in order for the health insurance company to cover your baby, they have to actually be added to your plan. And if you forget to do that, then the hospital may actually bill you directly for your baby's claim. And that, of course, would be a crazy amount of money. So,
Yeah.
making sure, yeah, so not only for that hospital bill, but also for all of the pediatric visits that are going to follow after, you need to make sure that you add your baby to that plan within 30 to 60 days.
Okay,
So,
cool. I want to
uh,
say ours was like within 30 days. Because it was like we called the insurance ahead of time. They're like, oh yeah, by X amount of date, whatever, like this is the info we'll need. And it really wasn't that difficult. So that was good. The other thing I'm gonna tell a lot of people here, because this is something that we did. If you are looking into getting life insurance for your baby, because the cheapest life insurance you can ever purchase for somebody is when they're born, when they're a new baby, because the risk of everything is the lowest, right? Like they've got a long life ahead of them. The insurance isn't going to be paying that out anytime soon. So if you are planning to get life insurance for your child, which later on down the road, most life insurance types you can actually cash out on the back end. So they end up with like a nest egg on the back end, basically. You can get them life insurance 13, I think it's 13 days after they're born, you can actually get life insurance. So that's something you can get initiated and set up ahead of time and then actually filed and done 13 days after birth.
yeah, yeah, life insurance is definitely something like I would say is like immediate sort of to do after you have a baby. But typically I recommend it life insurance for the parents, not necessarily for the baby itself, just because the risk is more if
Yeah.
something happens
That's,
to you guys.
that's when I got life insurance actually was
Okay.
when I was pregnant. I was like, how much can I?
Yeah.
Just in case, right?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean, you got to think about these things. I mean, you're not just thinking about yourself anymore. So I know it's like a tricky topic because
It
you're
is.
young still and in all likelihood, everybody's going to be fine.
Right.
But
The cheapest time to get it though.
exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, that actually could be a whole another Instagram live as well
Right.
to talk like the options there. But yeah, no, that's a really good point is like thinking about life insurance, once you have your baby. So yeah, so I mentioned adding the baby within 30 to 60 days. And then this is the last thing. We're almost there. Once you get your bills, and I kind of already said this, but once you get your medical bills, review them, check for accuracy, and just like double check that you're not getting double billed for things. I
Okay.
mean, I had a friend that was double billed for her delivery, and I mean that one was kind of an obvious one because it's like, why am I paying $15,000 instead of $7,000? You know what I mean? Like, it was just, yeah, just scenarios like that, right? And so it's like, yeah, before you just like, because like for me, sometimes I am just like, okay, I got a bill from my provider, like my doctor's office, whatever, I'll just pay it.
Yeah.
But I think especially after you have a baby, it's a big expense, and so just making sure you're checking like
Yeah.
what's on there. And I can help people like read through some of that jargon because it can be a little confusing what's on there. But
Yeah.
but just triple
And that's
check it.
where I tell people, if you get a bill from the hospital, your OB, get the itemized bill. Get
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Know what, see what each line item is. That way, um, it is in fact accurate. Because again, if you're going to see your delivery on there twice,
Yeah.
you're going to see deliver. I only delivered one. So what's
Yeah.
going on? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's kind of common that that happens because I think there is sometimes confusion between billing for the baby and then
Yes.
billing for you. And sometimes the baby's added. And so it can get confusing. And so I think just always triple checking the itemized bill is really important.
It's
Uh,
a weird scenario. You have one patient turned to two now.
yeah.
So it gets a little weird.
It does. And especially like, it's always unfortunate, but like if you have a NICU baby and like, then you get discharged earlier, but then your baby's there, there's just scenarios where the bills are, they can be quite different. So yeah, I think triple checking those and then always negotiating, if needed, right? So like if you're looking at the numbers. Oh yeah. I mean, it's hard. Let me tell you that. I mean, nothing's ever guaranteed. And nowadays, I think hospitals have gotten quite savvy with like managing it. But there are ways. So one example would be trying to pay more upfront for a discount. So you could
Right.
say, I'm willing to pay this completely in full if you can cut it down by 20%.
Okay.
Be an example. You could you could try to, like, it's really just looking at the itemized bill and just saying, you know like, was this really needed, was this charge needed? Like, so for example, if you look at I looked at my itemized bill recently for my delivery, I was charged $75 for one Tylenol tablet. Yeah. And this is actually a hack that I forgot to mention earlier. Take your Tylenol with you to the hospital. You could take your own Tylenol because they when they give you a pill, they open basically the whole bottle, and that's like what they're charging you, and then they're upcharging you on that. So it's just like you'll see crazy amounts of money for like really small things. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's little things like that that you can point out that it's just like, just
Listen.
help. Yeah.
And also clear out the not the delivery room, the recovery room. Take all the stuff with you that you can possibly grab
Oh
your hands on.
yeah.
And I'll tell parents this, is to bring an extra like duffel bag.
Yeah.
Like grab like a soft bag that you can put inside your bag to just throw like the extra diapers. Like take that stuff with you guys. Like
Yeah.
you paid
Seriously.
for
It was so funny. I honestly feel like that was like maybe like a mistake I made, was that I like actually packed a full bag of my
it. Yeah.
clothes. Like, I got my hospital bag ready. I didn't use hardly any of it. And then I had all this extra stuff that I couldn't fit into my suitcase because I had all my stuff that I didn't use. So yeah, I mean, obviously take your stuff with you, but then yeah, take an extra bag to take some of the extra stuff.
Take
So
all the baby stuff with you. Yeah,
yeah.
it was funny too because like every hospital is going to be a little different in what they offer for postpartum products and supplies. So it is always good to either, granted, you and I gave birth during COVID, so I wasn't able to do a hospital tour, see what they covered. Like I didn't get any of that. Something else I want to talk about that insurance does typically cover are either birth classes or
Mm.
your breastfeeding classes. So, and I will say this as a breastfeeding counselor, if you take a breastfeeding class, still make sure you have a lactation consultant that you've met with ahead of time. Because the class is 3 hours of a lot of information.
Yep.
But making sure you have that person you can call at 8 a.m. when you had a really rough night with baby and you're probably crying from exhaustion
Yeah.
is a lot easier than, oh, hi, I was in your class. Like, it's just easier this way of your insurance covers it. Typically, go for it.
Yep.
Take
Yep.
advantage of all the stuff that they cover. Because
Absolutely.
they do cover like a lot of the courses and classes because there are better outcomes when that happens.
Yeah, and I love that you say that because I think often people find their birth classes through their provider or like the hospital they're going to deliver at, and
Yes.
and they're going to they may charge for that, right? And so I think being like going to your insurance provider's website as well and just understanding like, will they cover that class or do they have their own classes that they offer that will be covered, right? So I think just not only checking with your provider in your hospital but also your insurance company to seeing like what's actually covered by them.
Yeah.
The birth classes, because I know for me I was like, well, the hospital I'm delivering at's offering great classes, I'll just take them there,
Yeah.
and then I paid up for it out of pocket, not realizing that my own insurance company provided classes as well for free
Yeah.
or covered. So
If you have a baby, something else to be aware of with insurance. If you have a baby that is allergic, like lactose, anything like that, if they need a super sensitivity formula, like a formula you cannot get in a grocery store, you typically purchase it through the insurance company. And a lot of times insurance will help with that cost,
yeah,
with formula if your baby has special dietary needs. So that is also something to keep in mind because it does happen. I mean, I offhand know a couple of people in my personal life that went that route and, their
yeah,
babies sometimes just have sensitive guts.
yeah, absolutely. And that's a great example of something like that I would always recommend if it's not like something that's frequently used. If it feels like somewhat medically related, chances are it could be covered by your health insurance or at least by your FSA. And
Yeah.
so I like it may be hard to remember in the moment, but if you can remember it, always just check and see like, can I get this covered? And you could save some bucks there.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
um,
Something else too that's really worth exploring and talking about. There are going to be like different things. So we decided we were a one and done family, and I've seen in the optical community as well. So a lot of the times in the medical community, what's happening is if you're paying through insurance, we only get like this much paid back. So what happens is costs get inflated
mhm,
versus you're paying private pay. So your insurance cost might be this, but a private pay cost might be this. So we were one and done. My husband made the decision that he wanted to go get a vasectomy, and we checked with our insurance how much it was going to cost. I think it was like $800 out of pocket with insurance. And he
yeah,
asked, oh, well, what about private pay? It was like $300.
yeah,
And we used the flex card.
yeah, amazing.
So,
Yeah,
yep. So it's like there are different things you can ask of like, okay, what is the with insurance price? Like, what's my copay with insurance versus what would a private pay cost? Because there are scenarios with eyeglasses, from my previous experience that the out
yeah.
of pocket might be private pay might be cheaper than going through the insurance just because the markup they have to do in order to get any payout from insurance.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Like another example that I can recall of like that exact scenario is genetic testing. I don't know how early folks are in their pregnancy, but it actually costs. Oftentimes, it costs more to go through your insurance to try to get that covered than just
But
like going through LabCorp or whoever and just like paying directly out of pocket.
wow,
Self-pay price. Yeah, I mean, that's a good example. I've heard like MRIs can be a lot cheaper. It also
my
depends on
blood work is typically she does like a flat fee versus with insurance because my OB was awesome. She's like, okay, I just want to let you know we have two options. This is like the flat fee for getting the blood work done
yeah.
versus with your insurance. I've had people now get $1,000 bills.
Wow.
And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. That was like a whole hormone panel, which can happen when you're going through pregnancy, postpartum, all that good stuff. But yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
that was another good one is yeah, always ask what private pay is going to be versus what your out of pocket copay is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daycare.
And oftentimes it does depend on how much of your deductible is left, and that's why it'll be higher through insurance. So like
Yeah.
if you get an MRI and you really haven't spent any of your deductible, it's like, well, your copay is so high, like your deductible is so
Yeah.
high, that's why. And so in those cases, it might make more sense just to pay the self pay and ignore
Yeah.
insurance. But yeah, it's definitely a game you have to play. Insurance,
Yeah. That's where like all these
insurance,
tips and tricks being just
yeah,
like whipped out is extremely helpful.
yeah,
One of the things that we ran across is when it comes to daycare expenses or
yeah.
private preschool, is it the HSA plan that you can use? Or is it a specific, it's like a lot of jobs offer or through insurance offer a specific savings plan that is like the flex card
Yeah.
taken out before taxes that you can use to pay for childcare.
Yeah, and that's the dependent care FSA. So it works just like a regular FSA. It's like I think the limit's like around the 5,000 mark this year.
I think
Um,
that's right.
$5,000 tax-free money that you put in, and then you can then submit those receipts and get, cash back for, tax-free money basically. But yeah, like I mean, daycare is so expensive that it like covers like, I don't know, 2 months of daycare for us. But
Whoa.
yeah, that's
You're
something.
in yeah, I was gonna say you're in the city. You don't want to know what to be fair. So my daughter, so we are for those of you watching that aren't aware, I live just outside of Columbus, Georgia. So it is a city, but it's not like an Atlanta type city. Like it's definitely much cheaper, but we're on the border of Georgia and Alabama on the Georgia side. And my daughter goes to a private preschool. It's 4 hours a morning, 5 days a week. We pay $325 a month.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's insane.
Wow.
So, because we're originally from the Boston area, so
Yeah.
they're paying $25,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it, depending on where you live, and I know this is something you go through with clients, is figuring out where you live, what the daycare costs and options, and so you can kind of plan that out. So that is a great option that if you are in a position of putting your child or opting to put your child into daycare, is exploring that dependent FSA. It's a great option.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up because there's three types of FSAs, which like the main type FSA is like just for like health expenses, which you
Okay.
can use on like baby related health products, basically. There's the dependent care FSA, which is what we just talked about, which is like for childcare. And the third is the limited FSA, limited something, limited liability, something FSA. I'll look it up, but that one is for vision and dental only. And so if you know, like in that given year, you're gonna, I don't know, have LASIK or you got to get braces or something, like you're gonna have a major dental
Yeah.
or eye-ish thing, then you can put money into your limited FSA and then save money like directly just for those expenses as well.
Cool. Do
Yeah.
you have are there I didn't have a NICU baby, so I don't have any experience with this. Is there anything parents that are pregnant now should be aware of if they end up with a baby that goes into the NICU? Are there any tips, tricks for insurance or coverage, things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't had personal experience either, and so far, all of my clients have been pre-baby. So I think the big thing that I always recommend to folks is just make sure your baby is covered and on your plan, because if not, all of that goes all of that is billed directly to you.
Okay.
The few client, like there's one client that I had that I like, it was part of my market research that, I talked to her after she had her baby. She had a NICU baby. And she said, I mean, as soon as she put her baby on the plan, her insurance covered most things. And it was really just her family deductible that she had to meet. So like her deductible did go up a little bit higher because she now is like in the family plan with her baby, but it was just up to her deductible and then out of pocket that she had to pay, and then it was all covered by insurance.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I would. I would definitely check on all that because there are plans out there. It's called the pregnancy loophole, where only the mom is covered and the baby is not. So
Oh,
yeah, it's really only on like underinsured plan, so like plans that probably aren't that great to begin with,
okay.
or it's for women that are maybe under 25 still on their parents' health insurance.
Okay.
In which case, like like the woman's baby will not be covered because she's on her parents' plan.
Yeah, because
That's
the
like
grandchild of the primary.
exactly. Yeah. So if you're in some of those cases, that's usually what happens. Typically, this won't be the case for most people if you have like regular employer covered health insurance, but just something to check for, I think, just to be safe. Yeah.
One of the things we discovered was that so through my husband's job, because I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, so we used his insurance. Him on his health insurance was like 50 something dollars a month. For both of us was like $100 a month. And then once it became a family plan, once we needed to add our daughter,
Yeah.
I don't even want to tell you how how much money. It was more than a mortgage per month. Is
Wow.
insurance ended up going up to as a family plan, and the coverage was not good. A lot of it was like a third party type insurance. So a lot of doctors' offices, I either had to submit it myself or they weren't in net. It was a hot mess of disgustingness.
Ugh.
If you are looking at family plan being really expensive and you're not loving it, I absolutely recommend going to a local insurance broker. I always thought it was like, I don't know, like a sketchy thing. Like it wasn't something I ever did. Like I grew up with you go through the insurance through your employer, right? And then we saw how much we were paying. And I was like, this is insane. So I talked to one of my girlfriends who's an entrepreneur as well. And I was like, hey, what are you doing for health insurance? And she's like, oh, there's an insurance broker that's here in town that's amazing. And he lays everything out for you. I was like, great, got it. So I went to him and we are saving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, have a lower deductible, and have better coverage.
Amazing.
It
Yeah.
was awesome. And the health insurance we're on is more widely accepted than the other one my daughter and I were on. Because I switched my daughter and I onto this one, and it's fabulous.
Okay.
And as a thing online, a lot of health insurances do this where they have these like free videos you can watch, and then they give you like points that you can either purchase something. I got $200 in gift cards from maybe like 15 minutes of videos.
That's
I
awesome.
didn't watch it. I clicked the button, but and I walked away. But whatever. I mean, but they were like maybe a minute or two each on like
Yeah.
eat healthy, exercise. Like they were like silly things, but like it was just like one of those like cool things of like, thank you for $200. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. I mean, those are the things you got to look out for too. Like sometimes you can get cash back for just like filling out a form or like showing that you went to the doctor recently or something, So I
Yeah,
think, yeah, like
yeah.
rewards
A
kind
lot
of,
of them just for getting like a woman's checkup, like you get
yeah,
money back.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's great. Yeah. Looking, I think that's a good thing to look out for. The other thing I'll just mention to your previous point, in general, the other thing that I'd always ask your insurance company before you deliver is what your premium and your out of pocket, all of that will be once you add your baby to your point, right? Because you could be like, if you add your baby and you're all of a sudden hit with a higher deductible, like it could be way more money than you originally thought. And
yeah,
so just having that knowledge or being able to prepare ahead of time of like, what is my premium and my out of pocket going to be once I add baby? Like, how is it going to change? Could really just help you with budgeting and
yeah.
forecast. So
So we're coming to the end of our time here. I love to do another live with you and specifically dive into. I know you give an amazing, amazing presentation that obviously would be conversational and educating people on how to save up to $10,000.
yes, that
I
was yep.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I would love to do a live with you on that. I think that would help a lot of people. So I think that would be a really, really cool one to do. So if you guys are watching, thank you for joining us. Make sure you either click into the link, hit subscribe, reach out, because I can get you. I also have Sethu's link on there. And if you do want the information that freebie we were talking about, the questions to ask, anything else you need to add at all?
No, I mean, just thank you so much for having me and all the amazing work that you're doing. Like, you're just incredible. So just
Thanks.
lots of love to you. But yeah, no, I
For not
appreciate
making finances stressful.
no, well, I mean, you helped with that because sometimes just me talking about it can be stressful. But no, it's it can be stress relieving depending on how you talk about it. So
Yeah. It's one of those things that a lot of people want to like. It's scary, it's stressful, like even just looking into it is confusing, so you just kind of want to like put your head into the sand, and
yeah,
working with somebody like you is what I wish had been available at the time,
yeah,
because it made life a lot easier and less stressful to like have somebody to walk you through all of it and kind of take that stress and the question marks out of the equation. So,
yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yeah.
and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks, Lindsay. All right. Have a good night,
Bye.
everybody.